Okay, I am going to do a little recap video of what we learned in class. So I've got the Transform Tools work file open. Let's start with the Rotate tool. And before I begin, I just want to point out, I went to Window and I got my Layers palette. And here it is. And as you can see, there are two layers. We've got the Draw layer, which all the stuff that you can click on and move around is on the Draw layer. And then I've got this other layer that has all the other stuff on it. It's got the type. You notice that I'm getting this weird little symbol as I go over this. It's locked down, so I can't hurt anything or move anything on this layer. If I unlock it, I can go in and move stuff around, but I'm locking it down. So I want you to get into the habit of working this way. We have certain things on the bottom layer, certain things on the top layer. That's going to matter going forward. Let's take a look. I want this clock handle to rotate around the clock. Let's go get the rotation tool. It's a two-part tool. So I start with my little crosshair, and I'm going to put the crosshair where I want the object to rotate. So I'm going to go click, and the tool changes to a little arrow, and I can pull it around either way. Now, if I go back and I do it again, let's say I don't use the crosshair. If I go over here, I have just made this the center, the axis point that this thing is going to rotate around. All right, so I just want you to understand, you're setting your axis. All right, that's the rotation tool. And just say, hey, and by the way, if I put my finger on the Option key and click, if I have a specific angle that I want to use the rotation tool at, if I know I want to rotate it 25 degrees, I can do that. And if I want to make a copy, just like we did with some of the other tools that we used, I can make a copy. See that? And if I hit Command D, that's that power duplicate move, I can do that too. All right. That was a lot. Let's go on to the Reflect tool. So here's my butterfly, and I'm going to skinch it over just a tiny bit because I didn't really get it right on the guide. So I'm going to select it with the solid arrow tool. It is a group. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 paths. If I use the hollow arrow, the white one, I can directly select bits and pieces within the wing. But if I use the solid arrow, I can get the whole wing. So I'm going to do that. I've got the whole wing, and I'm going to use the Reflect tool. And I'm going to click, I want to reflect across the vertical axis. And again, finger on the Option key, and I'm going to choose vertical, and I'm going to choose copy. And as you can see, I now have a copy. Now, we didn't go over this in class, but if I take the tool and I grab like this and I put my fingers on the Shift and Option keys, the Shift key will pull it across the axis and the Option key makes the copy. We talked about that in class, so that's just another way to do it. There's always 2 or 3 or 4 or 6 ways to do everything in Adobe Illustrator. So if you didn't want to use the dialog box, I'll do it again. I am going to set my tool. I still have to say to it, this is the axis. And then I've got one finger on the Option key and one finger on the Shift key. If you're on a PC, it is the Alt key rather than the Option key. And I'm pulling to the side. If I pull this way, if I pull down, I reflect across the horizontal axis. But if I pull to the side, I reflect across the vertical axis. All right, that's the Reflect tool. Moving along to the Scale tool. There are 2 ways to do it. You can put your finger on the Shift key and just go. I've got a big llama, I've got a little llama. Or I'm doing Command Z to undo what I've done. If I go to the Scale tool and I click, finger on the Option key as I click, and I get this little info box and I say I want to scale it up 250%. I can hit copy if I want to copy, or I can just hit OK. And there's my great big llama. So you can busk it, you can just kind of do it by eye, but always keep your finger on the Shift key. If I don't put my finger on the Shift key, I'm going to end up with a squishy llama, right? Non-proportionally scaled, not good. I want my finger on the shift key to constrain. And you can see I have my smart guides turned on. See those little numbers that are kind of constantly telling me how big and wide this thing is and where it is on the XY axis? Those are my smart guides. So just be aware of those. I can show you in class how to turn those on. So for example, if I needed a llama, if I was doing a web design, and I needed a llama that was exactly 70 points high or pixels high, I could do it like that. All right. Moving along to the shear thing. I don't think I've used this once in my brilliant career, but let's see. It's another two-part tool. So if I want to do a speeding car, I click here to show where I want the shear to go. This time I'm going to put my finger on the shift key again because I want it to constrain to a horizontal axis. If I take my finger off the shift key, you can see it go a little wackadoodle. The moment I put my finger on the shift key, it starts constraining to a horizontal or a vertical axis, and I can do this. All right? So those are the transformational tools. I would encourage you to practice with them until they become like second nature. They will, especially the rotate and flip tool. The scale tool you're gonna use constantly as well. These three tools you're gonna use a lot. So put a little practice in. All right.